So now we're going to look at what happens when we have a radical on both sides, but there's something else with it. Our first step, or our first attempt, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we've done up to this point once they're isolated on both sides. So once we have one radical isolated on one side, then we're going to, again, square both sides. Well, or take it to the power of the index. In this case, we're taking the square root. 3 minus the square root of x equals the square root of x minus 3, so we're going to square both sides. Now what happens is that we still end up with a square root, and therefore we have to repeat the process of what we've already done. So 3 minus the square root of x squared is going to be 9 minus 2 times the square root of x. And if you need to write it out as 3 minus the square root of x times 3 minus the square root of x and use FOIL, by all means, go ahead and do that. It's better to get it right and take a little bit longer. So 3 squared is 9 minus the square root of x, minus 3 times the square root of x, minus 3 times the square root of x is minus 6 times the square root of x. And then negative square root of x times the negative square root of x is just the square root of x squared, which is x. Equals, and then the square root of x minus 3 squared is just x minus 3. So now we'll isolate what we have. In this case, we have an x on both sides. So those are just going to cancel. If we subtract x from both sides, they're going to cancel each other out. So we end up with subtracting 9 from both sides. Negative 6 times the square root of x on the left-hand side equals negative 3 minus 9 is negative 12. Now we can divide both sides by negative 6, leaving us with the square root of x on the left-hand side equals negative 12 divided by negative 6 equals 2. And now we'll finally square both sides and get x equals 4. And again, we need to check our solution. So 3 minus the square root of x, and again we have x equals 4. Let's wrap that substitution in parentheses just for safe practice. We want to know, does that equal the square root of x, 4, minus 3? So 3 minus the square root of 4 is just 2. We want to know, does that equal the square root of 4 minus 3 is the square root of 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1, so that does indeed check. So when 3 minus the square root of x equals the square root of x minus 3, x equals 4.